let's quickly turn our attentions to what's happening in Parliament now, where the Sputnik v Health probe has started currently. And the health minister is before that committee that was set up, the 9-member committee that was set up by Parliament. Let's join the Sputnik v vaccine probe.
That this agreement has been executed between the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Health and the private office of the Sheikh, a member of the ruling family of Dubai, United Arab Emirates, therefore subject to the provisions of Article 1815 of the 1992 Constitution. In view of this, parliamentary approval is required to ensure the validity of this contract. Honorable Minister, did you sought parliamentary approval So,
Honorable Chair,
did you seek parliamentary approval before you entered into this contract?
No, please.
You did not. Okay.
Have you any such plans?
I thought she was going to have a follow-up question. I had plans to come to regularize the parliamentary approval, to seek for parliamentary approval after I've signed the contract.
Do you appreciate the fact that the pronouncement by the Supreme Court vis-a-vis the constitutional provision clearly talks about prior approval? You appreciate that?
Honorable Chair, very much so. But my frustrations to try to get a vaccine for us at the heat of our second wave, I relied on the Executive Instrument 61 that was passed by Parliament to hide behind emergency clauses that have been invoked, to try to see if I could do that and come to Parliament to inform Parliament that this is what I have done and therefore need regularization. I need approval to cover it because we were in dire need of the vaccine. Yes. And I had the onus to try to procure the vaccines to vaccinate Ghanaians to protect our lives.
But the EI is subsidiary legislation.
Honorable Chair, I must be very honest with you. At the time, I've mentioned my frustration was the fact that I seriously made that error, and on hindsight, it won't happen any longer.
Mr. Minister, you are a senior member of this House, and you are aware of how we deal with emergency situations in Parliament. We have conventions and rules and regulations governing how you deal with emergency issues, i.e. appearing before the relevant committee and make a case so that the issue can be dealt with as an emergency issue. Why didn't you take advantage of that procedure?
Honorable Chair, I've explained that those were not normal times, and I was seriously in the situation that couldn't make me think properly, the way you think that now I will actually address myself to the situation.
Mr. Minister, are you aware that we have dealt with issues and motions on the same day before on the floor of the House, in this House? And let me give you examples. You remember the 1.2 billion and the $100 million from the World Bank? We dealt with it the same day. Couldn't you have done that?
I could have done that, but the circumstances at the time was a little bit different.
Honorable Minister, you have laid evidence before this committee that you used your best efforts to get diplomatic channels to enable you reach the manufacturer or the Russian authority directly. Is that correct?
Yes.
You even did so by producing letters as evidence of such correspondence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You further indicated that it was after all those best endeavors have proved futile before you dealt with the Sheikh. Is that correct?
That might not be correct. I dealt with the Sheikh before the frantic efforts to try to get the vaccines from the right source.
So, were you being untruthful to this committee when you indicated that you used your best efforts to get direct access to the manufacturer and the Russian authorities before you dealt with the Sheikh?
I can't remember I have said this anyway. What I said was that I made efforts, but I didn't just oppose the timing of the efforts that I made.
Let's see this. In your answer to the chair of this committee, you stated that originally you were not even interested in dealing with private people, and that it was after your best endeavors proved futile, that's when you dealt with a private person, and the records are there to show, Honorable Minister.
That is correct. The best endeavors were not being done with the Russians. When we started looking for vaccines, we relied on COVAX and the African Medicine Supply Platform. These were not private citizens. But when efforts from COVAX failed because India blocked their routes for exports, and African Medicine Supply Platform indicated that they couldn't supply any vaccine until August, I was then motivated to begin to look at private sector people to see if we can get the vaccines. But after I dealt with Maktoum, I started writing to try to find it from the right source to see if we can get it cheaper from that point. That is what I have explained so far.
So, will I be correct in saying that you did not use your best endeavors to get a good deal for Ghana?
This will be a difficult question for me to answer, Madam. The best at the time was what I did.
Honorable Minister, Ghana has an embassy in Russia. You are aware that it has a trade minister. Ghana has diplomatic relationship with Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Russia has a diplomatic relationship with Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Yet, you went ahead to sign a contract with a private person on 9th of March to get vaccines from Russia before you wrote on the 23rd of March to the Russian Minister for Trade, and then on 28th of April to the Foreign Minister of Russia. Will you say this was prudent under the circumstance?
Honorable Chair, I think I've indicated that for prudence, at the time of the pandemic and my frustrations, I would not say so. If it were now, that would have been different.
Honorable Minister, have you become aware of any country in Africa that sourced the Sputnik vaccine directly from the Russian authorities?
Honorable Chair, I cannot give information to that effect.
Yeah. Mr. Minister, I have with me a press statement from your ministry. And you were telling the good people of this country the efforts you made before arriving at signing the contract with the sheikh. And I refer you to paragraph 6 of that particular press conference. It's dated 9th June 2021. And this is what it states. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I read. Against the background of non-response, against the background of non-response from the direct channels and global shortages of the vaccine, the Ministry of Health on 9th March 2021 responded to an offer from the private office of H.A. Sheikh Ahmed Darmok Al Maktoum of the United Arab Emirates for the supply of total quantity of 3.4 million doses of Sputnik 5 vaccines at a unit cost of $19 against the background of your effort to get direct. And are you saying that you signed a contract before the direct or the direct before the contract?
Minister, honorable colleague, just for us to be fair to the minister, let us get the two issues. Perhaps if you could put the question to him on the contact with the Russian authorities, and also if you use direct, you are talking about the manufacturer. So if you just pose in the press release against a statement he's made, I think that to be fair to him, if you could clarify that properly.
Mr. Chairman, it's
Honorable Chair, I was going to try to also ask just about the same intervention you have made. That efforts I was making reference to were direct sources from COVAX, the Serum Institute of India, and the African Medicine Supply Platform, but not from the Russians at that time.
Then the question is, why didn't you contact the RDIF or the Russians before arriving at this decision? Why?
Honorable Chair, it was even the Maktoum group that made me aware of the arrangements for RDIF themselves. So not until that time, I never even thought that RDIF was the sole agent that was distributing vaccines on behalf of the manufacturer Gamaleya in Russia.
Did you make the attempt to contact the manufacturer?
Honorable, I'm telling you that I didn't even know until I met the Al Maktoum group.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for... No, you come back again. Thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Minister, Honorable Minister, can you tell this committee the date or the period that you took a decision to negotiate with Sheikh Al Maktoum?
I did this negotiation on the 3rd of March.
I am not talking about the date of the negotiation. The date of your decision to do the negotiation.
Chairman, Honorable Minister, you know, he's a courtroom practitioner. You can put, you are not, just calm, with a very calm voice. You are, no, but
really,
the emphasis.
a friendly conversation with the
Honorable I am, the bench is directing that council must be calm. Council can achieve the same results with a very low voice.
Honorable Chair, this will be a very difficult question for me to answer. The date I decided to go to look for Al Maktoum or to sign a contract, negotiate Al Maktoum will be very difficult for me to do. I was looking for vaccines, and between what date and what date did I even come across Al Maktoum, and when we negotiated to sign a contract, it will be very difficult for me to actually answer.
Honorable Minister, you agree with me that that is definitely before 3rd March 2021?
Oh, definitely yes.
Okay. Who is this private office of H.H. Sheikh Ahmed Dalmuk Al-Matuk?
I don't think I can answer this question either. All I know is that there is an office led by the, how do I call it? A member of the royal family, Al-Maktoum. He came trading with that group, and that is what I know about them.
So you want this committee, and Ghanaian for that matter, to believe that you do not really know the private office of H.H. Sheikh Ahmed Dalmuk Al-Matuk.
Maybe the question will have to be, I don't understand it properly. What do you mean by, do I know the private office? I'm looking for supply of vaccines. Somebody comes and offers that we can help you get vaccines. They rushed down because I was looking for 4 things to be able to get me vaccines. 1, availability. 2, pricing. 3, efficiency and efficacy. The efficiency and efficacy portion has been done by the FDA in Ghana already at that time. And therefore, my next prior thing was availability, because across the globe, you couldn't get a vaccine from anywhere. So when I got information that somebody has it in Dubai and they can supply you, I didn't have option than to ask for him to show availability of the stocks he claims he can sell to me. And he asked for invitation to come with demonstration of supplies. And that is why he came with the first, he said we'll come with 20,000. But when they landed here, it was 15,000. And they said they will later top it up by the 5,000. And when they came, a business person, they were rushing to go back to do their business. So we had to sit down to negotiate to see if we can get a contract done.
Honourable Minister, I don't doubt your integrity. I know you are a staunch parliamentarian, my senior for that matter. And you are also a very good minister. I admire you when I came to the 6th Parliament, and you are the chairman for Public Accounts Committee. I cannot take it from you that you've entered into a contract with an entity, and you are now telling the committee and the Ghanaian that you can tell who that entity is. But anyway, I will leave it for the record.
Mr. Minister, you gave us the contract between the ministry and Sheikh Dalmuk Al-Maktoum, and you also gave us a contract with LSL Global Limited, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Based on the document that you provided us, and I'm ready to share this with my colleagues, the research I did on the 2 entities, I would like to read for you each one of them for your possible reconciliation. First is website https://admofice.ae/index/about. The private office has a portfolio of privately held group of companies that focus mainly on infrastructure development, energy projects, LNG terminal development, commodities and oil trading, water desalination, water recirculation, as well as education and agricultural projects. We bring extensive experience in developing, implementing, and executing fast-track power projects. We have a diversified portfolio across energy, oil and gas, infrastructure, agriculture, and education sectors. Our subsidiaries are becoming prominent across the energy and LNG arena, with international presence across Middle East, Africa, South Asia, with the aim to increase our portfolio and size in investment. Please let me finish. You have your time. Investment made across these regions. Then if you come to https://www.lsglglobalafrica.com. This is what it reads. Established in 2016, LSL Global Limited is a partnership between a leading global healthcare investment group and accomplished and passionate Ghanaian entrepreneurs. SLG is vested in the provision of funding for and delivery of healthcare projects and infrastructure in Ghana. SLG has secured the right for distribution of the world's first COVID-19 vaccine, Sputnik. LSG is responsible for the Sputnik vaccine rollout in Ghana and has concluded all document agreement with local and international stakeholders in order to spearhead this effort. LSG has partnered with international funders to begin a rollout of the diagnostic, primary and secondary and tertiary healthcare facilities across Ghana. Coupled with innovative social and healthcare insurance programs, we intend to tangibly raise the quality of healthcare available to all Ghanaians. I am saying that based on the document that you submitted to us, you gave us details of these. This is the research. I did some research on. Just a second.
May I come in here?
Let me finish, please. Let me finish. Bernard, we are scrutinizing a matter. If you are given a document, please, by way of putting your mind to rest, every document we receive here, our duty is to even research on. That is the basis for this scrutiny. And I am saying that I am putting this to him for his reconciliation. It's not something new. I am referring to the document that he has furnished us and the website that I perused to get further information. So I am reading out the details and I've given out the website, which information could be accessed by any member. And I am saying that I'm ready to share with colleagues the research. Wait, Bernard, please, let me finish. The research I have done. Similarly, if you scoop any information from whatever that you have been given by the minister and you want to share, and on the basis of that put to him a question, I do not think for the purpose of fairness you will be denied. I am basically on the basis of these two resulting out of your own information, putting it across to you for your reconciliation. That is all the point I'm making.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for this information.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe strongly my question leading to all this intervention is very harmless. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I respect your high office. The question is simply, who is this private office of H.H. Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Matum? And the minister has provided the answer. With all your explanation, does it mean that the minister didn't know he has supplied you information regarding this sheikh before giving the answer? So, Mr. Minister, I'll pick it up from where your answer.
Bernard, honorable colleague, just for the records, don't misquote me. I said that the minister supplied all of us with the information about the two contracts. Take it easy. We have the two contracts with us. All of us have, just for the records. All of us have the contract. And I am saying that before I got here today, just as we all do, we research on every information. This is my summary of every document he is giving us. And these are my information that I brought here for the purpose of today's hearing. And at least I have shared with you that these are the backgrounds of the two contracts the minister are tied to his response to us. It ends there. And I said I am putting it across for your reconciliation. Don't read meanings into that.
Honorable Minister, you would agree with me that you have entered into a binding agreement with H.H. Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Matuk.
Yes.
And you want me to take your answer that this person that you entered into the agreement with, you don't know who that person is?
I told you, Honorable Chair, that your question was not very clear. And I didn't understand what you meant by who that person was. If you have probably explained what you actually wanted, I may have answered differently. I told you that I didn't understand what you mean by who was he.
Okay.
You didn't ask me about his company, you didn't ask me about nothing.
Now,
that is the blunt question you asked
now
me.
that you understood my question, who is H.H. Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Matuk?
Who in what respect? In his person or his company dealings and his business transactions?
The person you deal with.
What I
In
know
your
about
contract,
them,
Exhibit 1.
what I know about them was what he came to let me know. And I also searched a little bit to find out about his business, how do I call it, his business and his company and what the deals that he has around the globe.
You've already agreed that he's not a Ghanaian, he doesn't have a business in Ghana.
Definitely, yes.
And you also agree that dealing with such a person, it makes the transaction qualified as an international business transaction.
I think I had admitted to this earlier.
Honorable, the question has been, I mean, when questions are answered, I think you can move on for other things. Vice.
So, Minister, you would also agree with me that in this particular transaction, you have not taken into consideration the constitutional imperative in Article 1815 of the 1992 Constitution.
Honorable Chair, I think I've answered this question already.
Yes, okay. So
you say that is as a result of that that you took it to the Attorney General?
Honorable Chair, that is right.
No.
But why would I have taken it to Attorney General's office? Honorable Chair, let me with your indulgence. Honorable Chair, let me with your indulgence brief my colleagues. Let me brief my colleagues of the situation that I was in, which pushed me to do this, that has warranted this inquisition on me here. Honorable Chair, February was the worst month since COVID hit our souls. We lost 78 lives. 78 lives. Even when we got the first consignment of COVAX of 600,000 doses, the normal planning was to wait and get our systems running within 3 weeks before we vaccinate. But at a COVID meeting, we realized that we didn't have space. So let's just begin to vaccinate in 5 days. So we cut down the timing of our own planning to 5 days. And our Ghana Health Service and our vaccinators with a robust EPI managed to start vaccinating with the COVAX 600,000 very quickly. We were expecting some more doses. But then we were informed that the allocations they've given us could not happen. And people were dying. February 78, March 56, these were the numbers. And if you, any of us here, were the health minister at the time, I think you might have taken certain decisions that on hindsight, going forward, you may not have done those things. This was the environment that I found myself in. Out of desperation, frustration, so many things. And people were dying, we needed to protect our citizens. That is all. So I want you to bear these things in mind, that I was not in normal times at all. And therefore, certain things will have been done which will not conform to the normal. I feel I went here, Honorable Chair.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Minister, you told us that you have taken a decision to do the negotiation before 3rd March. Why?
I didn't tell you negotiations. I said engagement with private people.
So I will come back to the question again. When did you start the negotiation with the private?
The negotiation was done overnight. On the 2nd or so March, when I got information that there are people who can supply Sputnik, not only Batum, there was another company in Ghana, they together with SL Global.
We are talking with specific reference to Maktoum.
Fine.
So,
and I've told you, honorable colleague.
You signed a contract on the 9th.
We signed a contract on the 9th.
And you started a negotiation on the 3rd.
Yes.
By your own minute as Exhibit 4A. You started a negotiation on the...
They arrived here on the 3rd with evidence of stocks. So we sat down in the negotiations.
And you think between the period of 3rd and the period of signing the contract, you do not deem it necessary to comply with the constitutional procedure?
We never concluded our discussions before they flew back. So we continued engagement until the time that we signed the contract.
Honorable Minister.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, did your ministry contact the Sheikh or the Sheikh contacted the ministry for the supply?
The ministry contacted the Sheikh.
But look at your Exhibit 4A. Your Exhibit 4A says, page 2, last but one paragraph. The team lead, with your kind permission, Honorable Chai read, the team lead of H.H. Sheikh, after the chairman's presentation, also indicated that the approach to the Ministry of Health is to express the ability to be able to supply the said vaccines, which has become difficult to and scarce to source. So in your Exhibit 4A, you are telling us that they actually contacted you. I also take you to your own press release, your press statement that the Vice Chair read. And against page 6, sorry, paragraph 6, it says, against the background of non-response, let me shelve that one and go to Exhibit 1. So from your Exhibit 4A to your Exhibit 1D, the buyer approached the seller to sell the supply vaccines to the buyer. So in your minutes, showing us that you actually negotiated with the Sheikh, you are telling us that the Sheikh contacted the ministry to supply. And in your contract, you are saying that you contacted the Sheikh. And in your answer, you don't know the Sheikh. Can you take us out of this confusion? Thank you.
I don't see where this confusion arises. Maybe let me go further to explain. The initial contact with the Sheikh was on phone call. In my desperation to get vaccines, when my normal channels were failing, I was talking to people, Ghanaians. And I can't remember who even gave me the indication of the likely supplies from Al Maktoum. So we called Al Maktoum's office, and they said, yes, we can supply you. Then I said, I don't want to believe in stories. People were coming to tell me they can supply, they haven't been able to. So you should demonstrate availability. Then they called and said that, yes, they can come and demonstrate by bringing 10,000 or so thousand doses. So I invited them to come and let us look at. And that is how come they came with supplies. So initial contact was done on telephone. And when they came and we sat down in the conference room to look at what they have brought, this is all culminated in the minutes that I've actually supplied. So in his, opening remarks also, I think that is what he said, they have come to show availability and they can supply his vaccines. So this was not the first time that we contacted Sheikh. It was a physical meeting we had, which was recorded. But earlier engagement had always been on telephone.
Okay.
Okay. Honorable Minister, please off your mic. Colleagues, I shall remind this committee of the issues. The issue of whether or not a contract was signed. The issue of whether or not prior parliamentary approval was required. I strongly, especially for those of us who are lawyers on this committee, I strongly would make this appeal to us to focus on the issues so that we could have a fair conclusion on matters arising. Because if we are unable to achieve that, we run into trouble. I'm just putting this across as a reminder to all of us, specifically, especially those of us who are lawyers. Because the terms of reference, as given, as we read out to the minister ab initio, at the initial stage of the hearing, must be our guide, so that we can make progress. To me, whether or not A contacted B first or B contacted A first, the issue of a legal relationship is what is our mandate. I'm just giving this guide to all of us, generally.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a very intelligent question, and I think that it falls squarely within our terms of reference. If you read the terms of reference, item 3, to determine whether the services of a middleman was procured in the transaction, and if so, the propriety of same, having regard to the relevant laws. So it's apt, it's appropriate, and I don't think we should overrule this at all. Mr. Chairman, I will follow it up with my question. Mr. Minister, don't you think if there is any confusion in the system, as you have rightly indicated, you created it? Because, Mr. Minister, if you refer to your press conference, press release, which of course you were talking to Ghanaians, you stated at paragraph 6 that you, government of Ghana, was responding to an offer. You were responding to an offer. Then when you come to Exhibit 1D, you say that you, the ministry was also responding to an offer from the sheikh. So in your press statement, you are saying that it is a sheikh that wrote to you and you are responding. And in the contract, you are saying the other way around. So could you clarify this confusion? I mean, these are two, so that we move from there.
Honorable Chair, I think I'm making the effort to clarify the situation. Yes. We did initial contacts on telephone.
You see, Mr. Minister, with the greatest deal of respect, we are not privy to whatever conversation you had with them on telephone. On the face of the document you have provided this committee is what we are basing our questions on. And so your conversation with the Sheikh, we are asking you questions with regards to your press statement and your agreement. Can you please reconcile the two?
You have allowed it for the time being. I've allowed the question for the time being. Let the minister.
Honorable Chair, I think I'm even getting them more confused. I think I'm even getting a little bit more confused.
Honorable Minister, I think, like I said initially, with the greatest respect, the use of certain words within the context of law and the use of certain words within the context of public communication have to be reconciled, and so that nobody questions your credibility or that we are also not left in doubt. But for the avoidance of doubt, my colleague has just drawn my attention to his two contentions. So I would take my time to read them aloud. You pay attention and just reconcile. Is that okay? Are you fine by that?
Yes.
Very well. So his first contention is that paragraph D, page 1 of the contract of Exhibit MOH1. The contract provides the buyer approached the seller to sell and supply vaccine to the buyer, and the seller is willing to sell and supply the vaccine to the buyer, subject to the following terms. So that is his contention. He, however, says that in your press statement to the public, you had said, among other things, quote, paragraph 6, against the background of non-response from direct channels and global shortages of the vaccine, the Ministry of Health on 9th March 2021 responded to an offer from the private office of Maktoum for the supply of total quantity of 3.4 million doses of Sputnik vaccines at a unit cost of $19. So now, he is interested in the ministry responded to an offer from an entity. Now, at this hearing, the private office of Damuk Al Maktoum has been established as a legal entity for the records. So he wants you to clarify or reconcile what you meant by responded to an offer from this, and the statement that in paragraph D, that the buyer approached the seller. So this is all. I believe it's...
Honorable Chair, how different are these two statements from these two documents? The buyer approaches, the ministry responds to an offer. So the offer the buyer gave, can that not be interpreted to mean an approach? Yes.
If that is how you understand it and that's your answer, we'll proceed from there. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I thought that we needed to be fair to the witness, especially when it was coming from my legal friend. There could be an offer to buy. There could be an offer to sell. Yes. So,
Mr. Chairman,
allow that.
No, Mr. Chairman.
But
Mr. Chairman,
as a lawyer,
if I don't know whether you are a counsel for the witness or you are a member of the committee. With the greatest deal of respect, we've moved on from there. Why then do you have to go and bring this issue again? With the greatest deal of respect.
I thought, Mr. Chairman, that we were not being fair to the witness. And that's why I wanted to intervene. And I wanted Mr. Chair to probably give the clarification. Because there is, to me, I'm not answering for him, but to me, there seems no contradiction here. Yes. There could be an offer to buy, there could be an offer to sell. So let's explain it to the witness, and then the witness can give an answer.
Honorable colleagues, we can't be breaking our shoulders on this matter. I have said, and at the risk of being repetitive, let me re-echo. And this is for the guidance of the 4 lawyers I can spot on this committee, including Afenyo Makin. You see, we have standard contracts in our offices. That's when we are assigned to execute. We get in for parties to execute. We know that. And then whatever had happened between the parties, whether who approach who or what, we know how we draft these contracts. These are matters that would come up for our discussion when we are this. So we have to move on because the minister is not a lawyer. Obviously, these are standard contract terms that they've executed. We shouldn't bother him too much. But for us as lawyers, we know what goes into the contract. And if we get to where we have to discuss these matters, I think that the concerns of anybody would be rightly captured in our report. So let's make progress. Let's make progress.
Mr. Chairman, I agree that we should actually make progress. But in doing all this, in doing the interjections, in putting up the defenses, we should know that if a witness is answering a question and the person questioning, we need to take into consideration the credibility of the witness based on the answers being given. Now, if the witness before us today...
But not on the point of law.
Excuse
Bernard,
me.
Hold on.
I'm not talking of point of law.
Hold on, Bernard.
Has given an answer.
Bernard,
and the answer that he has given contradicted the previous statement that he has made. If a reference is made to that previous statement, I do not think we are being unfair to that witness.
Honorable colleagues, we cannot, let me state for the record and with emphasis, we cannot use point of law or legality to determine credibility or otherwise. On fact, I agree. On fact, I agree. But the issue, I didn't want to belabor, but we have a duty as lawyers on this committee to also help the public. No. The issue of law is not about a person's credibility. Fact, where he has contradicted himself, then you can talk about credibility. But on a matter of legal misunderstanding, if he doesn't know the import of the use of the buyer offered or the seller offered, that is a matter of law. Let's make progress. Lisbeth, proceed.
Facts as contained in your press release and as contained in the contract.
Okay. I hope that the 4 lawyers on this committee will not hold the committee to ransom.
It appears they have said clear intention.
And we are also not going to second guess anybody. I will not sit here and say that I'm a lawyer, I know buyer and seller, and the witness doesn't know. I was not questioning him on matter of law, even though it's emanating from law. Mr. Ayumaduma Senior was not here. He would have known that the witness had already stated that...
You have the floor. Please proceed. No, Elizabeth.
So that you know that because the chairman says so. Okay. Yeah. Honorable Minister, if you look at your Exhibit 4, the initial meeting with the Sheikh group was on the 3rd of March, and Exhibit 1, the contract, was signed on 9th of March. I am suggesting to you that if you were minded to contact or consult the Attorney General, you could have done so between the period of 3rd and 9th of March.
Honorable Chair, I think I've explained that we didn't conclude the negotiations on the 3rd of March. We continued engaging and taking some clauses of the agreement, and we haven't actually concluded and finished. So the time in between, when the contract has not actually been concluded, I couldn't have taken anything to the Attorney General's office.
I further suggest to you that the Attorney General could have even been part of this negotiation.
I wouldn't agree with you the more.
Yeah. And so, in your, as you rightly say, in your haste to get vaccines for Ghanaians, I suggest to you that you are even putting Ghanaians at a much bigger risk. And I will show you why. Have a look at your Exhibit 1, specifically 7.3. And with your kind permission, Honorable Chair, I read. For the avoidance of doubt, the parties acknowledge and agree that the seller is a distributor of the vaccine and is not a manufacturer, and none of the seller or any of its connected persons shall be subject to any liability under this agreement, or otherwise for any loss suffered by or to the buyer or any person whatsoever, including patients and their relatives, resulting from the use of the vaccine, including liability for any claims that may be made against the seller by any third persons for the purposes of this agreement. Honorable Minister, so the vaccines that the Sheikh supplied to Ghana, in the likely event that it creates any problem for any Ghanaian, because this is the first time we are going to use it, the supplier, hearing the Sheikh, is not liable. We will not be indemnified. I'm putting it to you that you are putting us at a much bigger risk.
The liability will have gone on to the manufacturer. And the Sheikh had the manufacturer's agency to distribute, and he, the manufacturer, will take the liability.
Honorable Minister, I can only rely on the documents you have given to me, including that of the Attorney General. And so, again, with the permission of the Chair, I refer you to page 6 of Exhibit 9, and I read what the Attorney General says. Paragraph 2, the distributor indicates that it is not an agent of the manufacturer, and therefore will not be liable for any losses under this agreement suffered by the buyer or any person whatsoever. This implies that the distributor will not be liable to any extent in the case of an adverse effect. It is therefore suggested that it will be more prudent for the ministry to engage directly with the manufacturer, who can be held liable in case of adverse effect for the procurement of the next batch. Honorable Minister, the Attorney General is even corroborating the issue of liability. In this contract, we don't see any clause that the manufacturer will indemnify us.
Honorable Chair, the indemnity issue is actually captured in the FDA approval of the vaccine to be utilized in country. The FDA places that liability on the manufacturer during the approval regime. So we have that thing actually captured in FDA's, how do I call it, emergency use authorization. And that is what we relied on to get this thing so far. And it is so for all the vaccines that we have procured so far. Either grant from COVAX or OMSP, the distributors have let us signed a non-liability agreement on them. And therefore, they have placed the liability on the manufacturers before they approve the vaccine. And that is how come FDA is not approving some vaccines that they feel will not be good for use in our country.
Yeah, Honorable Minister, I think before we started, you requested that we swear in your other officials you came with, so that, no, that's what we do, public account, all officials that come, all the hearings, we do that together. So, clerk, please, the directors that he came with, please have them on oath so that they can officially be on record, and where he has to yield to them, he does so. It's better that way for our work. That's what we do.
I, Kwabnabuedu Okuafere,
swear by Almighty God.
Swear by Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Please, your full name and your position at the ministry for our records.
I'm Kwabnabuedu Okuafere, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Health.
Director of Legal here, or Head of Legal Services? Yes, please.
I, Inua Yusuf,
solemnly
affirm
that the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me God. Allah.
My name is Tete Kofi Romeo, the Acting Director, Procurement and Supply Chain of the Ministry of Health. I, Tete Kofi Romeo,
swear by Almighty God.
Swear by Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Acting Procurement Director, come forward. just all of you should just fill the space around the minister, so he doesn't need to call you back. No. Okay. So colleagues, we may proceed. Elizabeth, you have your turn.
Honorable Minister, still continuing a nice conversation. You agree with me that the Sheikh says he's not an agent of the manufacturer. In the event that he supplies us with a vaccine that causes harm to us, and the manufacturer says it was not sourced from him or from it, what will be the liability of the Sheikh?
The manufacturer couldn't, in any circumstance, have said they wouldn't have supplied the vaccines to the Sheikh. I will want to refer this to the lawyer in the ministry to try to expand this. Chair, with your indulgence. Chair, with your indulgence, can I ask the lawyer to answer this question?
Yes. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Respectfully, we were operating within a situation, as my minister explained, of emergency. Now, we took cognizance of the fact that liability lies with whoever commits the act. We also know that we have a liability law in this country, which states categorically that anybody who commits negligence, gross negligence, will to that extent respond accordingly. So even as we were seeking the advice of the Attorney General, we knew that the manufacturer, in terms of relationship with the supplier, as their relationships so come into. Now, where the supplier brings the product to us, he assumes responsibility to the extent that he carries the product from the manufacturer to the buyer. And the manufacturer, having manufactured the product, has responsibility for what is in the product. As my minister said, FDA, in providing emergency approvals, take note of the fact that any product that is approved under emergency has inherent challenges in it. So we entered into this agreement knowing very well that in the event that there was any injury, that injury will be determined as to who contributed to that injury, and the liability will lie in accordance with the laws of this country. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Minister, you see, in the AG's advice, reference is made to the seller not being an agent. If you look at the paragraph 7.3, page 5, the seller is referred to as the distributor. No use of, I've gone through the contract. I haven't cited the use of agent anywhere. It has been so described as a distributor, a seller who is referred to as a distributor. So, and that the liability is not on them as a distributor. So I just want to find out from you whether you have had the cause to reconcile this with the AG, because the AG describes the seller as not being an agent. But in the contract itself, no such reference is made as to agency. It is referred to as a distributor. Is it one and the same?
Honorable, The lawyer will answer this.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As you stated earlier, as I stepped out, I think there are matters of law and matters of fact. Now, in terms of agency, the law determines who is an agent in terms of principal-agent relationship. Now, in respect of a contract, which is between two parties, a distributor is the person who picks a product from a manufacturer and brings it to the buyer, and it continues to the consumer. So there are relationships that are determined in terms of the product moving, and there are relationships that are determined under the law. So our respected view in terms of agency is that for as long as the distributor picks it from the manufacturer and brings it to us, there's a principal-agent relationship. So in that context, we operated. Most grateful.
Honorable Chair, with your indulgence, let me just add a little bit. The FDA emergency use authorization puts responsibility on the FDA to actually vet all vaccines that had been imported into the country and relates it to the manufacturer's batch numbers. If they don't conform to the manufacturer's batch numbers that they have access to, they will not release these vaccines for use anywhere in the country. So it relied in the comfort of FDA's responsibility of having approved for use that they will check before they release for our use. If it wasn't coming from the manufacturer, we won't have access in our places to actually use to vaccinate anybody. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Let me do FDA for you. Honorable Minister, let's have a quick look at Exhibit 9 again. Paragraph 3. In order to avoid misquoting the learned Attorney General, let me read his words, with the permission of the Chair. We further note that the agreement is silent on whether or not the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, has certified and approved these vaccines for use. We note from our research that it's the FDA's mandate to regulate the manufacture, distribution, importation, exportation, use, and advertisement of all health-related consumables in the country. It is suggested that the parties collaborate with the FDA for the necessary certification and approval for the safety of these vaccines, and if these approvals have been obtained already, they must be attached to the agreement. So point 1, there is no evidence of FDA, as the Attorney General has indicated. And when you are sending us the document, Attorney General asked you that if you have any attached to the contract, I suggest to you that you have not attached any dealings with the FDA, so I'll be right in concluding that the FDA has been neglected in this process. Honorable Minister.
I will say yes.
Okay, let me flow from there before you come in. Mr. Minister, you kept mentioning emergency use authorization, EUA. Do you know whether or not any government institution or body applied for the EUA and same was granted?
Yes, I do.
Which government institution is that?
Maybe I don't know of any government institution that has applied for FDA to do this.
Let me repeat the question. Can I repeat the question? I am saying that, do you know whether or not any government institution or state institution applied for the EUA, and same was granted with regard to Sputnik 5 vaccines in Ghana. EUA is emergency use authorization for Sputnik 5.
A government agency, I would say no.
Who holds the EUA in Ghana for Sputnik 5? Who? Which company?
I know of Cedar Point, but FDA served notice to us that Sputnik V has actually been approved for use in Ghana. And when they issue that one to whoever it is, it becomes the document for whoever you are dealing with from that point.
Mr. Minister, we'll take it one after the other so you relax. Can you tell this committee the relationship between the company that holds the EUA and the Sheikh, the private office of the Sheikh?
I wouldn't know that relationship.
Mr. Minister, don't you think it is your responsibility, before even signing a contract, to know the relationship between the one who holds the emergency use authorization and, in your language, the distributor?
I don't think so.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Minister, can you tell this committee and Ghanaian for that matter what exactly the Office of the Attorney General is supposed to advise you on?
Honorable Chair, with your indulgence, can I ask the legal head to answer this question, please?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As per the Constitution of the Republic, 1992 Constitution, the Attorney General is the principal advisor to all government agencies. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Mr. Chairman, in relation to the contract and the reference, tell...
Honorable colleague, I think we have to keep to the confines of what we are doing. We wrote to the ministry. In our letter, we asked whether or not they sought the AG's advice. In their response, they have brought us a letter they wrote and a response from the AG. To ask again why or how, because they have given us a document. So I think that if we were going the path of Honorable Ajari on the content of the advice, I believe that that would be appropriate for us to make progress. So I'm pleading with you because we really have to make progress on the issues. I keep repeating and I keep reminding us, we really have to make progress on the issues.
Chairman, thank you very much for the intervention. I know what you are doing, but I will try as much as possible to resist the temptation. Whatever question that I ask, I know the purpose for asking that question. So he has answered the question that the Attorney General is the legal advisor in line with the 1992 Constitution. The follow-up question is that in relation to the contract and the reference, what was the Attorney General supposed to advise you on? The contract that we are speaking about with the Sheikh.
Honorable Chair, do I take it directly or it goes to my Honorable Minister
Chair,
and he refers to me?
Please proceed.
Very
Though
well.
we have the letter and the response, your letter states why you need it. You see, Bernard, I don't want as chair to be, so then go straight, that you can then say having submitted the letter from the AG's office to us, could you address this committee on this? Then we can make progress. Council, I'm begging you. Let's make progress. So you lay the foundation for him, and the specific thing you need, you ask. No, but we have the document. He's furnished that, and we all agree that documentary evidence is part of the requirement. Here we have the documentary evidence. The oral that he's supposed to give for elucidation and all that, please put that to him. No, you have the letter. Council, I overruled the question. You have the letter, you have the response.
Most grateful.
Been overruled. I will proceed from there. Honorable Minister, you would agree with me that you started negotiation on the 3rd, and prior to the 3rd March, you have also taken a decision to do this. You've again entered into a contract on the 9th day of March 2021. The Attorney General, as you said, is supposed to advise you on this issue. Yet, you choose to write to the Attorney General for advice a day after you have entered into the contract.
That is so.
So the advice from the what would the advice from the Attorney General after you have entered into a legal obligation supposed to do?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Minister, this question is also overruled. The Attorney General has given direction that seek parliamentary approval. It's clear on the face of the document we've been furnished. Please, let's make progress, colleague.
You see, Mr. Chairman, if you want to be the witness for me to cross-examine, you can.
Honorable member,
No. Because at the end of the day, we have documents before us. Now, if the advice.
Withdraw, Bernard, please. Unless you want to take over the chairship, please, with respect, kindly withdraw.
Due respect to the chair.
I'm not giving you the opportunity, Honorable Ahiafo. We agreed prior to this public hearing that documents served on us would constitute primary evidence. We all agreed. We would, however, allow oral submissions for the purpose of elucidation, etc., etc. Any document which is before us, which already is an answer to a question, will not be allowed unless the witness is contradicting himself. Then you put it to him that in your documentary evidence to us, this is what you said, and this is what you are saying. That will be allowed. But you won't ask a question, Chairman, on what you already. Please, let's proceed.
Comment withdrawn. Honorable Minister, don't you think that if you had written to the Attorney General prior to the execution of the contract, all the comments, all the complaints made by the Attorney General would have been taken on board in signing the contract?
I couldn't agree with you the more.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I can come in.
Vice Chair, you may proceed, please.
Yeah. For the sake of emphasis, Mr. Minister, would you agree with me, per your admission, that you have sinned against Article 1815 of the 1992 Constitution, just for the emphasis, that I will proceed from there?
I have done what?
Very good. Thank you very much.
I didn't hear your question. That was an answer. I'm asking you a question.
You are not supposed to ask me questions. Anyway, for clarification, don't worry. Relax. Mr. Minister, I am saying that per the conversations we have had so far, would you agree with me that clearly you have sinned against Article 1815 of the 1992 Constitution?
Where Article 1815 states.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me read for him. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I could. And my interest is on 1815. And I read 5. This article shall, with the necessary modifications by Parliament, apply to an international business or economic transaction to which the government is a party as it applies to a loan. And the definition of a loan has been defined, has been given. So will you then agree? You have already established that it's an international transaction. We have given you precedents from the Supreme Court and all that. That has, clearly been established.
I would say I agree to that.
Very well.
But I've said earlier that I relied on UI 61, which the chairman has said that was not superior to the Constitution.
Do you also agree and admit with me that the distributor, as you have described, is not an agent of the manufacturer? Has that also been established?
I don't think I will agree to you on this respect until the distributor refuses to give me an agency, how do I call it, engagement with the distributor, with the manufacturer.
Mr. Minister, do you have any document in your possession or any proof to show that the distributor is an agent of the manufacturer? Do you, can you finish it?
Can I, Honorable Chair, the lawyer want to answer this question.
Colleagues, a question that has been asked and answered. As we do 360, but for emphasis, I would allow this question. But colleagues, let us avoid this 360. When a question is asked, you go around, ask the same question and all that. I don't think we are making progress. Does that mean we are going to be on one issue? This question on distributor and agent and whatnot is really not part of our issues, but no problem. Legal Director, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I wanted to candidly assess this committee by making reference to the clause 6 of the agreement where pharmacovigilance is properly captured to the of the agreement of MOH1, exhibit MOH1.
Yes, clause 6 has several sub-clauses.
Yes, under 6, all those sub-clauses relate to the pharmacovigilance aspect of the agreement.
Right.
Now, typical of medications, and I say this because I think we owe this committee a duty to assist. And it is in that spirit, Honorable Chair, that we are here. And I think that as a pharmacist in this case, I just want to say that it is useful to take note of this clause in respect of what we're doing. That this agreement says that we are under obligation to collect pharmacovigilance information. And the information is passed to the seller. The information is passed to the seller, and the seller in this case is the distributor, and in this case is the second party to this agreement. So to the extent that the seller undertakes to take pharmacovigilance information and proceed with the manufacturer, we think that there is a relationship of agency. And there's obligation, as we explained earlier on, in terms of liability to everybody who plays a role one way or the other. So to that extent, Chairman, I wish to say that we have explained adequately. And if you may permit, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect and humility, I can't resist the temptation of reminding myself that I am also the legal advisor to my minister. And my minister has come in good faith to assist the committee. So I will be very happy if from time to time I am allowed to guide my minister, because it appears that my minister is under cross-examination. Thank you.
We have sworn you in. Don't belabor.
I am grateful. I am grateful.
You deal with the issues. You are dealing with the issues as and when you know. So don't worry. We have read. You remember that earlier a question was asked whether you have found the need to reconcile the Attorney General's understanding of agency vis-a-vis the provision in the contract which talks about distributor. I put that question across. So it is for you, this explanation that you are giving, to reconcile with AG on that score. That is not for us to do. You get the point?
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Minister, did Cabinet approve this particular transaction?
No, Honorable Chair.
Cabinet didn't approve this transaction. Okay. Let's go back to SL Global for the meantime before I come back. SL Global. I'll come back. SL Global. Can you please furnish us with the letter you wrote to request the issue of LC in the name of SL Global, the response from the Ministry of Finance to same, and the LC itself? Can you furnish the committee?
Honorable Chair, I think the lawyer will be in a better position to answer on LCL Global.
Yes, Counsel. Please proceed, Director.
Yes, we have the letter in the office. It's not with us here, unfortunately.
So, yeah.
I'll handle that.
So the assurance is that we'll get it as soon as possible, right?
Very well, Honorable Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Minister, you signed the agreement between Government of Ghana and the Sheikh on the 9th of March. And we have $19 per dose of Sputnik 5 on the 9th of March. Then you signed another agreement with SL Global on the 16th of March. A week difference. And you agreed to buy a dose of the same product at $26 per dose. Why?
Now, at the time, SA Global was presenting a product that was a bit different from the Sputnik V. And they were talking about the double dose in one, like Johnson & Johnson. And so they said $26 at the time.
Mr. Minister, have you read the agreement you have between SL Global and the Government of Ghana, and what was under consideration?
Madam Chair, I think you will allow the lawyer to answer this question.
Honorable Chair, the agreement between the Ministry of Health and SL Global was amended, and yeah, we have only one agreement between MOH and SL Global, which was amended in terms of the financing scheme and the price, the unit price of the product. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
What product was under consideration?
Sputnik Light.
Sputnik what?
Sputnik Vaccine, the light version.
Sputnik Light.
Yes, and that is a one-dose product, single dose.
So let's clarify. So the Sputnik 5 from the Khartoum was a double dose vaccine.
That is so, Honorable Chair.
And one was costing the 19.
That is so.
So for a complete dose under Khartoum would have been 38.
That is so, Honorable Chair.
And then that's for SL Global is 2-in-1, which is 26.
Single dose, that is so,
Single
Chair.
dose.
Which was reviewed downwards under the amendment.
Which was reviewed downwards under the amendment to what?
To 18.5.
Okay, you've attached it in the exhibit.
That is so, Honorable Chair.
Now, so have you established an LC for SL Global?
Not that we are aware of. We've given instruction to the Ministry of Finance, but the LC has not yet been established. To the best of our knowledge.
Okay, so Leonard, does the contract subsist?
That is so, Honorable Chair.
It does.
It does, Honorable Chair.
Where is their source? This SL Global, it is also an agent, a distributor for that product. Where is their source?
Their source is from Russia, the manufacturer.
Okay. Now, is it the same manufacturer that is supplying both vaccines, the Sputnik 5 and the Sputnik Light?
To the best of our knowledge, yes.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from the minister why he entered into a contract without cabinet approval.